Good morning, Madurai leadership team. Is this a better way of calling? I guess it is absolutely a better way of calling. We are called leaders in our respective organizations, but I strongly believe that you are the best leaders because you are the ones who are creating the talent, which all of us are absolutely inheriting and then moving on with the business. So from that perspective, I think you are a better leadership team than any of us are. Absolutely better than me, I think. First of all, thank you, Puru, for giving this opportunity to be here and then talk about what's happening in the business, how the business is evolving. IT industry has gone through a tremendous amount of change with the way the business is happening, and what used to be the growth adapters is no more an adapters these days. So I'll share some of my live experience of what's happening in the industry. And when I conclude that, like Puru requested, I will also talk about how the esteemed the professors and the head of the departments or anybody who is involved in the institutions here, how we could actually influence the talent to be a better enablers in the market, and how we can enhance the career opportunities for them than what it is today. So if I can sum it up, I think we would have possibly achieved the agenda of this session. And before I go on, my name is Prakash Arunachalam. I'm the Vice President and Head of Chennai and Pune Delivery Centers for Virtusa. Virtusa is an American company based out of Westboro. We're about $360–370 million as we speak. That's just a short introduction about my company. Right. I think what we decided is we will take up the question and answers after all three of us bring out our thoughts onto you. If you could assimilate a little bit and then hold your questions, and you can feel free to ask questions to any of us, and we will be more than happy to take it at the end of the session. So if you look at it, I would call it that the whole IT industry is right now in the 3.0 journey. So we have seen the pre-internet stage, where it's just basically about using all our mainframe and mini computers with either COBOL or AS400 technologies. We used to be just trying to automate a very simple task. We started off pretty much like inventory control system, financial accounting system. From there on, all of us know that the big wave, like a tsunami, the internet age came. So when the tsunami comes, it has to go back inside as well. So it's pretty much happening right now. The internet age is kind of becoming an history right now. So it's no more the fancy what it used to be before. So what's catching up right now is basically we call it the Internet of Things. So I strongly believe the 3.0 journey is going to be focusing on personalization of computing than ever before. So we had personal computers, we had internet usage for each and every person in their home, so they could do anything what they want to do for both their personal and official work. But right now it's taking a next journey. So what it means is that it's a lot more personalized. What I want and what anybody here wants completely different. What I call it a beauty, what I call it a enhanced user experience, it's not necessarily the same as it for anybody else. So I don't know how many of you do that. First thing in the morning when I wake up, the very first thing that I do is I take my iPhone and see who's saying what in Facebook. That's the very first thing. I don't even say good morning to my children or to my wife. I say good morning to Facebook. I see if anybody is saying hello to me in LinkedIn. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's how our life is. So the small tablets are actually literally controlling our life from the very morning till the very night. So, and that's just very true both in the personal life context as well as in the business context. And that's what is really dominating right now, the growth in the entire IT industry. So that's the next wave that we really have to catch up on. Every single IT companies are going towards it, and even there are a lot of innovations that are possible. So that's why let's just have a quick look at that in the next 5–10 minutes. Right. So as I spoke about, these are the, if I may use the word, culprits. They are the ones who are actually deciding how each one of us behave in their professional life as well as their personal life. You have the cloud computing. As you could see here, Gartner predicts that over 60% of server workloads will be virtualized by 2014. That's a massive change than what you would have seen about 3 or 4 years back. We used to have our own networks, we used to have our own data centers, and then there came the data center consolidation, and now even the data center is not owned by us anymore. So everything is literally hosted on the cloud. So that's one big thing that's catching up. Anything what you are developing we have to make sure that are they cloud enabled, can I host it in the either a private cloud or the public cloud. And again, in a very lighter sense, the Angry Birds 1.7 billion downloads. So, if you don't have Angry Birds application, then you have more and more Angry Birds in your home for sure. So you decide whether you want an Angry Bird in the application or or at home. And of course, it says that by the end of 2013, the number of mobile connected devices will exceed the number of people on the planet. I think we heard it right somewhere. I heard it that in India, we have more mobile phones than the number of toilets what we have in India. So that's exactly how the whole trend is going on in India as well. That way, India actually caught up with this era much quicker than actually it adopted the web-enabled world. So I think that's in a way a great thing for us. And we talked about Facebook. Big data. Big data is one of the important dominating technology trend in the industry right now. Especially if you take the healthcare or any insurance, where there are a lot of data that are available, and most of the data are unstructured data. So processing the data, getting hold of the data, deciding how it can help you take right business decisions on a day-to-day business life is extremely important. So if you look at it, it's your mobile applications being hosted in the cloud with a data source, could be either a data mart or a data warehouse or even a big data. So all this coming together is the real need of the business solution today. As per Forrester's definition, the IT focus now is more on systems engagement than system of records. So what do we mean by that? We're just playing around with a little bit of English words, I think, right? So what I tried to say here is, we originally started creating systems for maintaining our records, whether it's our employee records, medical records, accounting records, or about an aircraft, or about your banking and financial system. This is great, which is still needed. I don't think that's going to go away at any point in time in life. So managing the system of records is going to stay. But it's no more that ERP of the SAP or the Oracle. So right now, everything, how do you engage your employees, how do you engage your users to create this system of records is more important than actually just building a system of records. So it's all about, again, how mobilization that you can bring it to the way you do business. More than that, it's all about the user experience. So what the user experience is the utmost important aspect of a whole software development today. It doesn't matter what technology you use, it doesn't matter what platform that you use. What is extremely relevant today is the user experience. Is it very easy to navigate? Is it really looking very catchy to my eyes? Am I able to do it in 2 steps, 3 steps, then I would have done it in 8 or 9 steps. So all that matter a lot when you're deciding what the platform you want to choose and what a technology tool that you want to choose. So that's what we are talking about. Systems of engagement is more important right now than system of records. So I think just articulating it through some examples here. You have your ERP, you have your HRMS, sales, finance, IT delivery systems. So these have been built in the industry by having spent about millions of dollars. So they are going to stay. I don't think any business leaders or CIOs or CEOs are looking at getting away from those systems what has been built. All your ERP systems are going to stay there. But as I talked about how you make it a more millennial engagement, when I say millennial, it's about the millennial crowd is generally, we say that about 27 years of age. If you look at any companies, you go to a bank or you go to any of the IT companies, the more and more employees out there are actually millennials. They are in the age group of anywhere between 22 to 27. So the typical consumers, there is a lot of research that says any industry you take it right now, especially in India, the biggest community which is actually consuming the business is the millennials. And millennials, as I talked about, the first thing that they do is getting into the Facebook. So how you can enable them into a very millennial way, that is what is very important here. Now just a very quick live example that I thought I'll show it to you here through this chart. So this is a scenario what we have in Virtusa. We are a millennial company. 86% of our global Virtusans are millennials. And the average age of our workforce is pretty much 27 years. So this is the real data, and you go to most of the companies, that's what it is. Somebody told me if I have any TCS friends, I would like them not to take it in any offensive way. In fact, I'm going to say it in a very positive way. You enter a TCS, it feels like it's an university, which is a great feeling, and it's the same way it is when you enter Virtusa as well. So which means the young generation, engaging them, occupying them, getting them to listen to you is extremely important. Let me take an example here, right? If I can ask this to Pro, when did you go to the bank last?
Maybe some 6 months back.
6 months. So I think you're still not as millennial as it is, I think. I'm just saying in a later sense. But typically, these days, there is not much interest for anybody to go to the bank, right? So we have IVR, we have internet banking, we have mobile banking, you have anything and everything which is available on your fingertips, not even at the doorsteps anymore, it's on the fingertips, right? So the challenge that a bank has got, or an insurance company has got, or a healthcare provider has got is engaging the customers. First of all, they need to know how to talk to you, how to give you the products, what they want to sell it to you. Is it a mutual fund or is it an equity? Anything and everything. The first and foremost challenge that comes to them is how do they get to you? So that's a very millennial, challenges what any of the industries have got. So that's what you're talking about. You have the Gen Ys, which are typically born between 76 to 2000, and the Gen X was born between 65 and 75. You have baby boomers who are 46 to 64. So essentially what we are talking about is the Gen Y, which is a millennial community. They are deciding what the spending pattern is, what the business expectations are, how the business has to be presented to them. So everything is really revolving around the young generation right now in the world. So just going back to the banking, what I was talking about, right? So essentially, what is the challenge in front of them is, right, today, do I need to go and buy a Van Heusen shirt, or do I need to go and buy an Arrow shirt, or do I need to buy a shirt which doesn't belong to any of these two brands? So what used to be the scenario is that, I'll go and buy Van Heusen, or I'll go and buy Arrow. Right now what's happening is, right, what is my friend saying about that ABC brand? What is my friend's girlfriend saying about the good saree that, that my friend got for her? So then immediately, you go into that sentiment analysis, what they are saying, what in, YouTube, what they are saying, what about it in Google, what they are saying in front, how many likes have this saree got, right? I will give you a very live example, right? Last week for Diwali, I bought a saree for my wife, which is called a Trisha saree in Vinay Tandi Varuvaya. How did I decide to buy? I didn't even know that such a saree existed. How did I? This is a real example. I'm not picking up here. How did I decide to buy? I saw a photograph in Facebook. There were 100 likes for it. Right? So I put one more like and then I got it for my wife. So who is manufacturing that? I have no idea. It's not Raymond. It's not Naidu Hall. It's not any of those big players. It's somebody else that I don't even know. Just because there are 100 likes, I believe that there will be 102nd like, which is my wife like, and by the way, she put a like for it also. That's really life right now. So this is what is expected from each and every the student who come out of the campus has to be able to adapt to this mindset, has to be able to adapt to this demand which the business sees right now, which means he has to be thinking a lot more innovative than just a average technology developer. Right, so all this means companies need to reinvent themselves across three primary dimensions. Reevaluate your traditional business models. Do they still make sense? That's the biggest question that every business CIO, CEO or an entrepreneur has to ask themselves. Reinvent your workforce. Do I have the right set of people who think in line with the current generation needs? Is he the one who is going to be building an application which is going to get as many 102 likes I got it? So that's extremely important. Whether it is a healthcare business or banking business, these parameters definitely do play a role. And then of course, optimize your operations and core processes or your methods and processes tuned for the millennial world. Like what I said about, right? How quickly can you get to the business? How quickly in 3 or 4 steps can I get my transaction out? Now, is it very easy to use? Is it absolutely fast enough? So all these things really play a role. If you go into the irctc.com and if you have to wait for 5 minutes, IRCTC will be going empty all the time. All the trains will be going empty today. But you know how IRCTC used to be about 7, 8, 10 years back, and what it is right now. It's like flicking through like anything. So which means the Indian Railways also adapted to the need of the hour, the need of the business right now. So driven by these factors, technology proliferation, changing consumer habit, we talked about it, and the workflows and the economic uncertainty. So all these factors really something that is dominating the minds of the CIOs today. So now I think we talked a little bit about what is happening in the business, what's really driving the business towards. With that in mind, I think what will be really good is the finishing school approach in the campus could only help students manage the transition from university to a workplace much better. Today, that's the biggest challenge for most of the universities or most of the students who are coming out of universities into workplace. Puru talked about in the beginning, how do we make Madurai institutions to be the go-to place for all the institutions. So I think, there are two things that I want to talk about. In this slide I'm saying, so typically in a college campus, what they go through is in the left-hand side, which is intellectual challenge. But when they go to organization, they have to organizational and people challenges. There are so many other people who does what, who says what, that plays a lot of importance for him in the workplace. Choose your performance level. As a student, one has to say, is he going to be scoring A plus, B plus. But when we go to work, these days, A-level work is required pretty much all the time. You take a look at any CIOs, right? So CIO's job are only renewed every quarter. Well, your contract may be a permanent employment. I take my job only 1 quarter at a time. If I am not a A+ player 1 quarter at a time, I don't think my job is assured. So the expectations and demand is such that every senior guy is always an outstanding performer. That's a pressure. So how do we help the students who come out of the universities understand these challenges, what they're going to go through? How do you help prepare them mentally, physically, more strong? That's the great contribution that all of the esteemed professor could do to the students, I would say. And then again, in a college campus, they would focus on their development and growth. But whereas when they go to organization, they have to come out of that individual mindset. They have to think about whatever I do, how is it helping the organization? Similarly, they do a create and explore knowledge in the campus. But when they go to organization, having a knowledge alone is not enough. Do you have the right knowledge? And what do you do with that? How organization is benefiting it? So how you bring it to the table? That's more important. You can be an individual contributor in a campus, but when you go to company, you got to be a team player. Independence of ideas and thinking, but you can't be having your own idea and expect others to be implementing it. Your idea has to really suit the industry. Your idea has to suit the business needs of your customers. So that mindset has to be tuned from each and every student. Again, it's nice to have a student who is thinking innovative, creating something great in the lab. But when you go to the workplace, these days, innovation is almost becoming a mandate in every company. So, there is a survey, the recruiting trends, which is from the College and Employment Research Institute, the CERI of the Michigan State University says, these are the challenges that typically, most of the students go through when they join the workplace. And by the way, this is absolutely real, and we have these challenges every time we bring on board a fresh set of batches of students into our campus. The enthusiasm, excitement and drive, communication skills, technology aptitude, fresh perspective, teamwork, work ethic, analytical thinking, adaptability, which is extremely important, adaptability, ability to embrace change, and of course, we talked enough about innovation. So all these things are a package. They're not one by itself. All these things coming together will actually either put him an average performer, or some guys even come out of the whole thing within 3 months from the time they enter the campus. The moment they come out of an organization, it makes the life so much so difficult for them to get back into a company. So it's extremely important that how do they prepare themselves in all these aspects before they come out of the campus and they get into the organization. Then it really makes them very successful, also fast tracks their employment in the companies. This is the last slide. So I would appreciate that, if we can have an aspirational statement here for the universities. If we are saying, if Madurai team is saying that I'm going to make every single university or college in Madurai to be the go-to college or go-to institute for the key IT companies, there is easy way to do it, right? So sometimes, again, excuse me if you are doing everything what I'm saying here, but we do see from what we have been seeing some of the colleges, not just necessarily Madurai, the focus pretty much has been the general curriculum. They teach very well the science, the maths, the analytical skills also, and of course, you train them on Java or a .NET, but that is not alone enough. That's not going to take them anywhere. So if alone the universities or institutions can actually focus, especially in the last semester, on the technology, communication, more importantly industry skills. Are you able to create some subject matter specialization? It could be either an insurance or a healthcare or a retail banking or a corporate banking. Obviously you cannot make them masters of that area, but if there is a way that we can expose them to the basics of this, one of the industry skills, and obviously bring that innovative mindset into their mind right just before they come out of the campus. If alone there is a way, like what Purush said, we can't change the curriculum all by ourselves, but we can always make localized changes. We could always have an informal classes, workshops, where you can imbibe all these 3 or 4 skills what we're talking about. If alone you address this, I don't see any reasons why I won't be here next year picking up 200, 300 people from most of these colleges. And this is really the need, and this is really what is lacking in some of the institutions that we go to. And we sometimes go there, we meet about 1,000 to 2,000 candidates, we come back with 5 or 6 students. It does happen. Even a tier 1 organization that we go to, we sometimes come back with only 5 students being picked, despite the fact that we got the very first slot in that campus. So this is still a vacuum. This would be a great opportunity to bridge this vacuum, and that's what is going to differentiate the institution from a very normal and average institution to an institution which can not only enable the opportunities for the students, but it further enhances the opportunities for the student. With that, I'll take leave. Thank you so much.